So I just watched the New York Times Sam Bankman Fried live about the FTX collapse, New York Times interview.
I didn't ever try to commit fraud on anyone.
What?
Commit fraud on
Did he kind of just admit he committed fraud? I've been in the crypto space for a few years, and I'm also an actor who studies psychology and human behavior and body language and things, and kind of the psyche of a person and their mind and how they think. And I've been going back and forth between, like, is Sam Bankman Fried a mastermind, Unabomber, crazy psychopath? Or, based on his background, he's mostly a good person who has gone in the wrong direction and used a lot of stimulant drugs and coke and stuff, and really just lost sight of everything given the greed and the amounts of crypto and making $26 billion. I mean, I think he could be very calculated. And there's a moment that I'm going to play for you, a couple of them, that show this guy is a wildly psychopathic con artist galore. I don't know. Let's find out.
Please welcome back to the stage, Andrew Ross Sorkin.
This is so dramatic. Like a presidential debate or town hall.
And thank you for staying for the entire day. Sam Bankman Fried joins us right now, live from the Bahamas. Sam, as you know, a lot of people have been hurt, genuinely hurt. And my hope is
he's wearing a black shirt.
The time we have together,
no FTX logo.
That we can have a candid conversation about what happened.
It's his funeral shirt.
I want to go back in time for a moment. This summer, you were described
his reaction to
oftentimes as the J.P. Morgan of crypto, referencing the 1907 panic that he helped prevent. And you had purchased BlockFi, were making investments in Voyager and all sorts of other things.
He's like,
when you were doing that, at that time, how much of that
really upset him
was an effort to prop up the value of things like FTT, which was the token of FTX?
So basically what I'm getting from that is his image cared a lot about him. He wanted to be known as like the savior of the financial system as a whole. I think honestly it's both. I think he maybe started out with good intentions, potentially, with his whole, like, I want to maximize the potential for
serving the most good and making the most money so I can give out the best stuff.
That's a horrible explanation. This is what he said.
My goal has been to find ways to have positive impact on the world and to maximize that.
Yeah, that. So that's an act, but maybe it came from a truthful place from the start. But the psychology facts
let's talk about collateral.
Really
because I think
volumes.
This entire experience has been a revelation for a lot of people about what might be collateral. And clearly you were using FTT and Solana and other tokens as collateral, and part of that required you to mark them in a specific way, a value to them.
Yep.
Do you think that you were marking them properly?
In Alameda's case, I don't think I was marking them the way I wish I had from a risk perspective. And I want to sort of differentiate here, like, expected value or sort of like worth or something like that.
This was a question
from
he was
security.
prepared for.
And
when he brings out the hands, that's what this is.
I think that I don't have any strong statements to make about, what value they're assigned from sort of like, a upside perspective or even a median case perspective. But clearly I was not nearly cautious enough.
He didn't want to have a board of advisors. He called all the shots.
What are your lawyers telling you right now? Are they suggesting this is a good idea for you to be speaking?
You've heard
very much not.
pretty much everything.
I mean,
they told me to
the
say.
classic advice, right? Don't say anything. Recede into a hole.
And they told me to say this because this is
not who I am. I mean, it's not who I
it's
want
not
to
who
be.
I am.
I'm
a good person.
I think I have a duty to talk to people. I have a duty to explain what happened, and I think I have a duty to do everything I can to try and do what's right.
And that also
if there
makes
is anything
me
I can do
look
to
innocent
try and
in his only way that I can.
Customers out here, and
doing this interview is the only way he can get out of this situation, is by literally bullshitting his way, talking and not taking accountability and being like,
Crypto's new, and I'm like, I didn't know how to manage it, like a company, and it just got so big so fast.
He's just trying to give those excuses.
I don't see what good is accomplished by me.
It's the biggest
just
fraud in the
sitting
history of the
locked,
world.
In a room pretending the outside world doesn't exist.
You're in the Bahamas right now. Are you in the Bahamas because you think you can't leave?
You're gonna be in a room.
No, I'm in the Bahamas. I have been in the
bro.
Bahamas for the last year, and I've been running FTX from the Bahamas. Been running FTX Digital Market, our primary operating entity down here.
Why did they go to the Bahamas a year ago?
Bahamian regulators.
That's where Tether
and,
is. Tether is for
others
sure
in contact.
so
And
sketchy.
right now, I'm looking to be helpful anywhere I can with any of the global entities that that would want my help. Would not be surprised if sometime I am up there talking about what happened to our representatives, or wherever else is most appropriate.
It's
How
prison.
concerned are you
He didn't
about
want to
criminal
say.
liability at this
He
point?
didn't want to say that.
So I don't
If
think
prison's
that.
more
I mean,
appropriate.
obviously, I don't personally think that I have. But I think the real answer is that's not. It sounds weird to say, but I think the real answer is that's not what I'm focusing on. I mean, look, I've had a bad month. This has not been a fun month for me, but that's not what matters here. Like, what matters here is the millions of customers. What matters here is all the stakeholders in FTX who got hurt, and I don't think that's what it makes sense for me to be focusing.
He really
Sam, help me with this.
is so
On November
specific
7th,
with the
you
body
tweeted
language
and
that
then
he
deleted a tweet
chooses to
that said,
use.
quote, FTX has enough to cover all client holdings. We don't invest client assets,
He always takes
even
a sip
treasuries.
when it's a
We've been
question he
processing
does
all
not
withdrawals and will continue
like
to be,
in his,
unquote.
look at his face.
You then deleted that tweet. And literally just moments
like,
ago, you told me it was on November 7th that things took a turn.
He always says, yep,
You're
yep,
telling
and
the truth.
nods, because he wants you to think he's really
things were
taking
changing
in what you're saying when he's
fast.
not.
And
He's just coming up
when you
with
look
the most
at
calculated
November
response.
6th, I was feeling nervous, but
That's
I
gonna
felt like
manipulate
things
you.
were probably going to end up okay. We still had, I mean, it was a weekend, so we were a day delayed on a lot of wire transfers
this is so-
and stablecoin creations, and Bitcoin
His
nodes
shaking.
overloaded, but their assets
His
were
shaking
continuing
and then
process.
going back to the
By
movement of the
November
hands.
8th,
The shaking is kind of like,
I messed up.
and then the devil part of his brain's like,
Oh, but everything's fine, and I didn't do anything wrong. But I
it's very interesting, because I always thought the shaking before was just stimulant use.
but I
is
remember
he,
at some point it's like, it shouldn't be there.
Let me ask you a different question, because this is all around the same time. The New York Times reported
what was
that
I don't
$515
even
million was suspiciously, in quote, transferred
really
from FTX
even know what that
wallets
meant.
after
He's
the
laughing,
bankruptcy
dude.
filing.
Yes.
And there have been accusations that this is the assistance, effectively, of theft.
People have lost billions.
Where did
He's
that
like,
money go?
yeah, well, that's
So,
a calculated move.
I will caveat this by saying, at that point,
Oh, there he goes with it. I'll caveat this by saying the laugh was calculated. Yeah, it's not true. Like,
always being cut off from systems. And so I'll give you the answer to the extent that I know it, which is that
To the
I believe
extent.
that a few different things happened within a short period there. And I don't know the details of that. I don't have the resources to
Look at him looking off.
trace through exactly what happened there.
I don't know,
And I don't know who is behind that third part.
I want to go back to one thing about the Bahamas. The Bahamian authorities have now admitted effectively that they ordered the transfer, it sounds like, of certain
He
FTX
drinks
assets
when
to
he
wallets under
lies,
their control
folks.
after the U.S. bankruptcy was filed. Did you
That's what he's doing.
help them with that? Did you discuss that with them?
also, is he just like
So
looking
I-
down a
I,
lot? Because that's
can't
what
discuss
someone who's
specifics,
sad
but
does.
I will note that prior to Chapter 11 having been filed,
Or is there
the,
literally just like a teleprompter
Bahamian
iPad
authorities
right there?
had placed FTX Digital Markets, the Bahamian entity, which is the primary operating entity of FTX International, under supervision to protect FDM's clients and customers there.
You did an interview, I think perhaps inadvertently, over Twitter DMs with a reporter at Vox, and had spoken
He's
about
upset
ESG,
about this, bro.
but also about what you described as the shibboleths of what it meant to look good in corporate America today. and that a lot of the things that you were doing were not necessarily things you actually believed or believed in. Can you speak to that?
Like this interview.
Absolutely. And it was a frustrating series. It was not meant to be a public interview. It was a longtime friend of mine who I stupidly forgot.
This is a straight up lie.
I thought I was speaking in a personal.
Forgot. This is okay. Okay, this is the biggest straight up lie I've heard him say that I know is incorrect. You can watch the video. Her name's Tiffany Fong, I think, and she got screwed over, lost a bunch of money from the Celsius fallout, and she started, doing some journalism, investigating. He agreed to do an interview with her, and they did it over, I think, DM voice chat.
Capacity. I'm not sure what they thought the capacity was at the time, but
okay, let's go back.
Long time.
Because how he delivers what he says here could be so telling to everything we've watched prior, and knowing that things are what could be a lie and what could not be.
Things you actually believed or believed in. Can you speak
well,
to
number
that?
one, he starts with the nodding.
Absolutely. And
absolutely, yeah.
It was a frustrating series. It was not meant to be a public interview. It was a longtime friend of mine who I stupidly forgot was also a reporter. I thought it was.
He's looking down, dude.
It was
he's looking down, straight up, because he's fucking lying, and he can't. He's like, he doesn't want to look at the camera. He's been doing that the whole interview. I honestly, I would love to know so much how much of this interview is just all
longtime friend of mine who I
BS.
Stupidly forgot was also a reporter. I thought I was speaking in a personal capacity. I'm not sure what they thought the capacity.
Look, his eyes go incapacity. They go this like to the left for a second or the right for a second and then back. That's signals a lie.
Forgot was also a reporter.
Right.
I thought I was speaking in a personal capacity.
There.
I'm not sure what they thought the
I
capacity
thought I was speaking in
was at the
personal
time,
capacity.
but it certainly ended up being reported on. And I think
made
what
two
I'd say is,
mistakes with the nose and the look away.
There are a lot of things that I think have really massive impact on the world,
which is why he's just
ultimately
been
that's what I
looking
care
down
about the most.
this
And
whole time.
I mean, I think frankly that the blockchain industry could have substantial positive impact, but I was thinking a lot about bed nets and malaria, about saving people from diseases no one should die from, about animal welfare, about pandemic prevention, and what could be done on a large scale to help mitigate those things. I think matter, and they're among the most important things to me. Separately from that, there's a bunch of bullshit that regulated companies do.
Whoa, SBF just said a naughty word. Sorry, but before that, him naming off all these things and charities and things that are important to him.
One of these was Caroline Ellison.
Someone with little to no experience, the CEO, a multi-billion-dollar operation.
Bro, he had $26 billion. This is honestly frustrating, because the reason that he says that, I do at times believe that could be true, but I mean, after the whole Tiffany Fong thing, who knows? They really should give this guy like an Emmy or something. I have one right here. That's fake.
Did somebody say fake trading token? I got one for you right now. Just press buy. Just press buy.
Bunch of bullshit that regulated companies do.
I just wanted to hear him say bullshit again.
Try and look good. Everyone who does them basically knows they're kind of dumb. That these are not things that are making large impact on the world. These are not looking at saving thousands of lives. These are the kind of like, if like three different quarterbacks score a touchdown in the same game for the same team, we'll donate
if
2
he
used cars
really
to charity
cared
type campaigns where It's not going to happen. It's never
saving
happened.
thousands of
There's
lives.
no expectation of a card game.
He'd be
donated.
crying right now because
it's just a PR campaign.
He's
sort of
probably
masquerading.
made people die
as,
because they have no money.
As do-gooderism, and
Probably
things like
caused some heart attacks and
greenwashing
strokes.
are things which I think end up in a somewhat similar area.
Fair to say you participated in this.
Yeah, we all did, and
We
FTX did as
all
well,
did.
and I think that on the more tasteful end of
Dude,
the spectrum,
the
you can
shaking
see
of
that
right
things like
arm.
small scale
now
but
going in
real
here.
charitable initiatives.
The body
and on
language
I think
shifts.
the less tasteful end of the spectrum, frankly speaking, I mean, I think even things like making sure that all materials have perfect English grammar is a thing where that was important.
Knowing that if a company like BlockFi, which owned a ton of it, that if it collapsed, FTT would collapse, and in large part, the quote-unquote collateral that you had for Alameda would collapse.
So I don't think any of the borrow lending desks, to my knowledge, owned a lot of FTT. I think a lot of them, may have been using it as collateral, or taking it as collateral. I don't think they owned it though, or were going to sell it. And so I wasn't viewing it as having any impact on FTT in particular. I did view it as important for the industry.
He said I wasn't doing it as him saying I wasn't doing it. Referring to Alameda, he just took ownership of Alameda when in the past he's like, well, I don't really, run Alameda. I'm not really there. I don't have the.
I'm too ADHD to, I can't really focus my attention on that. I got too much going on, kind of a thing.
Hanging out with Brady and stuff.
Trading crypto, Tom. Buy and sell crypto.
Do it as a thing where I wanted to try to keep the industry stable.
How do you
but
all feel
I don't
about
think it had any
the celebrities
really large
who've lost money?
FTT-specific impact.
You didn't think it
What are
had
you
any
thinking at
impact?
this
It would have
point?
had no impact on Alameda or FTX if, for example, BlockFi were to have failed?
I don't think it would have had large direct impact. And the reason I say that is that I believe that Alameda ended up returning the vast majority of its open, borrows of its margin positions with the borrow lending desks in the middle of this year anyway.
He never takes
and
ownership
so
or accountability.
At that point, there wasn't that much
his
left
language.
to save from that.
For just 1 second, I apologize for belaboring this point, but we were talking about FTX and the derivative piece of it earlier, and I had made a note earlier about this because you had told the Senate, so you were sitting in the Senate at the time, on February 9th, 2022, during a hearing, you said, quote, on FTX US derivatives, all of these contracts are fully collateralized. Was that true?
Yes, and again, FTX US, to my knowledge, totally solvent. FTX US derivatives,
To my
totally
knowledge.
solvent. And in fact, I believe FTX US derivatives, Ledger X, may even be up and running right now. I'm confused why FTX US is not processing customer withdrawals right now. I would think it should be, because I believe, to my knowledge, that it could be and could make all Americans 100% whole from this. So and FTX US derivatives, as I said there, doesn't even allow leverage of any sort. It was close to a spot trading platform. And so, to my knowledge, all American customers and all American regulated businesses and exchanges here are, I think, at least in terms of client assets, are okay. Obviously, I don't know what's happened with, you can make your own judgments about the enterprise value of those businesses, but.
Over the summer,
Is
you
it
made a
also
$2.5 billion
kind of a
loan
choice
to
to
Barry Silbert's Genesis.
be
This was
looking
in
down
August.
like,
And I was just trying to think through the dynamics of what might have been happening at your firm and was wondering, where did the money come from?
So when you say you did that, I presume that that's Alameda Research that did that? Is that right?
Yes, that's the case.
So I don't have all of the details there, but my understanding is that, and I don't know exactly what was going on Genesis's side then, and I don't know now. But my understanding is I believe Genesis.
Well, number one, people that do coke do that. He for sure does coke, people. Big cocaine guy here. Would have given Pablo Escobar a lot of money if he was around back in the day. But a very common psychology fact is that if someone is talking, they're do something like that, it means they are probably lying if they're saying it at a specific time like he just did in this kind of situation. He's probably for sure trying to not do things like that on purpose. When he's like nodding, he's like, I want to look my eyes to the left, to the right, because that's but I shouldn't do that because that's known as somebody that lies. Like, he's trying to do things that make him seem innocent, but I think that's a little mess up for him.
Tried to call in a large number of loans from Alameda. I believe that happened, and that closed down a lot of positions that Alameda had opened with Genesis and other trading desks. And that was what I was thinking at the time. And that's, I think, what happened there. I also think that may have led to an increase of position size of Alameda on FTX in retrospect.
So, what do you think? I have been editing for like 3 days now, and this is just too much because things change with this case, like every second. So just let me know in the comments what you think. Are you even paying attention to this? Are you not? If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing, and if you want to see other videos like this, there's one right there. And I'm pretty interested in this SBF stuff. So, well, have a good day. Bye.